Oh my God, you guys. First of all, I'm sorry because this is the third time that I'm trying to shoot this. The first live I did, my dog went apeshit on the mailman and completely ruined it. And then the second time, I realized I was rambling. I tend to talk a lot, which is why a lot of my videos aren't pre-shot or aren't live, because I tend to ramble. I get really wordsy. So this is the third time's the charm. We're gonna get straight to the point. This is the first video out of the 5-day webinar that I'm doing this week. This first video is really gonna focus on my story and what coaching means to me personally, okay? So it's very important for me to tell you guys this. It's very important for me to share my story because there's always new faces. There's always new people joining my Coach Amanda Like page. There's always new people hopping on my Instagram and becoming friends with me on Facebook. And it's important for you to know who I am. It's important for you to know where I came from. So I'm here to share that with you. A little bit background on me. I was born and raised here in Omaha, Nebraska. I got married September of 2017 to my husband, Justin, and I've been happy ever since. Technically, I am still a certified cosmetologist, and I no longer work in the salon, but I did for about 10 years. I always felt like there was something more though. I always felt like I was meant to do more. Ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to help people. I wanted to make a difference. So I did join college, University of Omaha, Nebraska, and decided to try to be a nurse. And that didn't work out, and I did that for 2 years before I joined beauty school, which I was awesome at. But there was still this pull, whether it be from the universe or God, I don't know. Something has always pulled me, you guys, telling me you are meant to do more. You are made to do big things. You have big plans. While this fantasy lasted a great deal of years, I ended up casting all of those dreams aside, and I didn't even know what that dream was at the time, but I just forgot about it and settled, which I feel like a lot of us do. A lot of us settle in our lives, right? So I need to tell you my story before we get into what coaching means to me. This story's long. That's why I tend to ramble. So we're just going to get to the bullet points here, you guys, okay? So I was 8 weeks premature, which means I developed a lot slower than the other kids. So my ears stuck out like crazy, like Dumbo. I was called Dumbo. I was called ugly, hideous, elf, monkey, you name it. I was called it from the age of 5 till the time I was 13. And it wasn't just always verbal abuse. For a year in there, it was physical abuse. I had this nasty little boy who constantly was relentless. He was just relentless in his torment. Awful. He ended up stabbing me with pencils, and he'd tackle me before I'd get on the bus, and he just preyed on me every chance he got. Eventually, he even broke my arm. Moving on from that, aside from just my ears sticking out, I had extremely dry skin. At the time, nobody really paid attention to it because it didn't bother me. I had hundreds of little bumps from my kneecaps up. Hundreds, you guys. My legs were covered in these bumps. And kids always asked, what were they? It made me very self-conscious about them, so I always pulled my dresses down or hid my thighs with my hands. This lasted for a few years before I ended up growing out of it, and it completely went away. But for a long time, I wasn't just self-conscious about my ears sticking out. I also had these hideous legs that I had to hide. On top of that, I had a learning disability because I was premature, so I didn't retain what I was reading. Oftentimes, I would read something, I have no idea what the hell it was. So I ended up getting put in these help classes in 4th grade, and the special education teachers are the ones that taught it. So I got pulled out of regular class often to go to these special classes, and then these special ed teachers would come in when I'd have a test, and they'd read my test out loud to me, as well as eliminate one of the multiple choice questions for me. So other kids were seeing this all the time. And you can imagine the names that I was called. It was pretty brutal. So I wasn't just ugly, I was also stupid. So no intelligence, nothing going for me in my looks, and it was just a train wreck. It was terrible. And the cherry on top of all of that was I ran like a freak. So I have hip development issues, or I did. my hip still bugs me to this day. I have one hip that still gets sore, and it bothers me. When I was a kid, this hip bugged me all the time. So when I'd run, it would kind of hurt. So I galloped. So I galloped for many years and eventually joined the track team in middle school and learned to run like a normal human being. Yay me. Oh, and then I did forget one other thing. In these terrible years, I also developed an autoimmune disease disorder. So it was called Hashimoto's, which was similar. It's kind of like hypothyroidism's first cousin, okay? So I still had all the symptoms of that. I had the dry hair, dry skin, hair falling out, weight gain, tired. I had all these things. So that was my childhood from 5 to 13 years old. Pretty terrible stuff. It wasn't until summer of 2002 that was a major turning point. I was no longer in sped classes. I didn't have the dry skin anymore. I ran like a normal person, and I finally got plastic surgery on my ears. I got these babies pinned back, and I spent the whole summer recovering. I ended up joining high school, a new lady, and I still lacked confidence, but I was definitely more excited to greet my peers when I got these things back. Let's see. So yeah, so I still lacked confidence, and it wasn't until 14, so that's my freshman year. It was a couple months into my freshman year that I discovered alcohol. I went to an after party, I drank some booze, I got drunk, and I discovered the magic that it cloaked you in. It cloaked you in like this bubble that was like the I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me bubble. It was fantastic. I was just in love with this. I couldn't believe it. It was a miracle drink because my whole life, I always worried about what people thought of me. I never wanted people to notice me. I was always quiet and holding my head down. And then when I started drinking, I was this completely different person, this person that I thought I wanted to be. So throughout high school, I dipped my toes in the party scene as much as I could. However, my parents were not stupid. They caught me many times. They followed me to many parties. I got busted all the time. But that never stopped me. I still continued to try to get out there and try to party as much as I could and do all that terrible teenage stuff. While in high school, I was still in track. I did join the discus team for that. I tried dance for a couple years, which was a disaster.